Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Crypto Entrepreneurs Podcast with your host, Charles. Enjoy.
Today we've got a good one for you, but before we get into it, just a quick word from our sponsors, Dudex. So Dudex is a new cryptocurrency derivatives trading platform that aims to provide a fair and professional experience for its users. With third-party market makers and no exchange token or internal trading desks, Dudex creates transparency and puts the customers first. A couple of the features on Dudex include 100x leverage trading, perpetual swaps without expiry date and daily settlement, 100,000 TPS per contract, and most importantly, no KYC. That's right, every crypto trader's favorite words, no KYC. Sign up with the link in the description below to start trading today and receive up to $100 in free Bitcoin when you make your first deposit. Happy trading, guys. All right, now let's get to the show. This is episode 47 of the Crypto Entrepreneurs Podcast. It's your host, Charles, and today I'm going to be sitting down with one of my good buddies, Quant Fiction, to discuss a couple of things. So first, we're going to be discussing his trading methods, which, as his name suggests, is more of a quantitative method. And then second, we're going to be discussing this trading group that he's a part of. It's called PDF, which is short for Pendilla de Flujo. It's a group of, I think, 20 or so traders who are all absolutely killing it. You've probably seen most of them on crypto Twitter, and if not, I highly suggest you start following these guys. They're some of the best traders that I've seen on crypto Twitter, and this group, PDF, it's just all of them sharing their ideas, their trade setups, and kind of general outlook on the market. So Quant's going to be discussing some of the pros and cons he's seen since starting or since joining this group. And then he's going to give you some tips and tricks on how to start your own and what to look for if you're already in a group. And then lastly, he's going to be talking about, the basics of data analysis and how to develop quant strategies. But I don't want to ramble on any longer. Let's just get into it and let's start the show. So Quant Fiction, before we really jump into it, can you just give us a little bit of background on yourself and what you were doing before you found cryptocurrencies? And then also, you're known as a trader. We see you as a trader on, crypto Twitter. Are you also a long-term investor in crypto?
Okay, so first, I got into crypto more through traditional markets and trading. I was doing a few strategies on ETFs in like a retirement account, and then a little bit of options on the side. Started listening to a few podcasts, and Bitcoin came up a few times. And I thought I'd look into it mainly because I'd read in a few places that new markets were less efficient and more fertile for developing new strategies. So I looked into it, and then shortly after that, hopped on crypto Twitter, and that's kind of where it all started from there. In terms of long-term investing, I'm exposed to Bitcoin just because that's what a few accounts are denominated in. But other than that, I'm not a bag holder by any means.
Yeah, you're not I just recorded with the guys from BioGang, and we were, joking about the very long-term holders who never plan on selling, and it's just a little bit laughable.
Yeah, at a certain point, I don't know what the difference is if you're down 99%. Is it even worth it to finally cash out?
Might as well just hold out and say it's lost funds, and if anything happens, you're stoked. But okay.
Absolutely.
So you were trading traditional markets before this. You said you were trading ETFs and some options. So your story, I don't know how many traders you talk to, but a lot of the people that I have on, they've never had any exposure to traditional markets. So it's good to talk to somebody who's made that transition and has seen the differences in traditional markets and then crypto markets. For example, you talked about, the crypto markets being a little bit less inefficient, which has given you the opportunity to test new strategies. So I appreciate you giving us kind of the background on yourself and you're a trader, less of an investor. So it's good to just get that background on you before we jump into things. So now, can you give us a little rundown on your trading strategy? You don't need to go into full details. I know you don't want to give away that secret sauce that you've got. But if you could just give us, like a general overview of, your trading strategy.
Yeah, I don't know if there's as much secret sauce as one might believe, but for the most part, like my strategy would just be centered around finding statistical anomalies in the market data that are repeatable over time, which might sound more complicated than it is. Basically, just boils down to asking questions of the data. So, like anything that you can think of, like any pattern that you think you notice, daily closes are up 3 days in a row, like highest high the last 20 days. Anything, like literally anything that you can think of that you can test. And then if you can code that up and make it into a variable, you can see over history, like what happened the next day, what happened 3 days later, what happened 5 days later. And then just kind of get a sense of like where your edges are. And so after doing like enough testing like that, you can see like what variables might be useful in a strategy. And then you can start combining those. And so I think the biggest edge just in general is through diversification. So, I mean, I've written one blog article about it, but I mean, there's a lot more out there if you look. But essentially, if you have multiple uncorrelated strategies or return streams, when you're blended together, you can actually have a sum that, or a whole that's greater than the sum of its parts. So you could have like 2 mediocre strategies or 4 mediocre strategies that when you roll them together turn into like a pretty decent looking portfolio, and should help your risk adjusted returns a lot. So I mean, I think there's a lot of flash and a lot of hype around some of like advanced methods. Like I know, like I listened to Nick's interview or Tweakerties that you had on, and like he's doing some super advanced stuff with artificial intelligence. Like he's definitely legit, knows what he's doing. But I also see in the space just a lot of like AI, machine learning, deep learning buzzwords thrown around. And I don't know, it's not like the panacea that a lot of people would have you believe. So
Yeah.
I was just thinking,
No, I was just going to say, I feel like some people are so far removed from this area of trading that they just don't know that these like flashy,
right,
buzzwordy AI, machine learning, it doesn't mean as much. Like you're talking about, combining a couple simple strategies into one. So I thank you for dumbing it down a little bit. This isn't my area of expertise.
Sure.
I really can't get into the weeds when talking about this kind of stuff. But to me, it sounds like you're kind of combing through a lot of data, looking for these anomalies, taking semi-simple strategies and combining them. Is that?
Yeah, I think at a high level, that's pretty much what it is.
Perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, no. I think that sums it up.
All right. Awesome. I really appreciate you walking us through kind of your strategy. Now, what I really want to get into and what I want kind of the focus of this group or of this talk to be about is this group that you're in. And that's Pendilla de Flujo, which is PDF. I'm sure anyone on Twitter has seen people talking about it. I look at the people who are in it, and it's just these dudes who are absolutely fucking killing it. So can you just give us a rundown of what exactly it is, who's in the group, and
yeah,
then...
so I mean, yeah.
No, go ahead, please.
Go ahead, sorry.
I'll ask the next one later. Let's just get like the basics down first.
Yeah, I think it's been almost a year now, maybe longer. But it was originally started by Trade Keck on Twitter, and he just wanted to make a group, I think. I mean, if I have this right, I joined in like a little bit after it was formed, but basically just wanted to get a group of crypto traders together who had like different styles and approaches and just like commonplace to share strategies or anything that they were looking at, just like discuss the markets in more or less live time. And so that's pretty much what it is. It's just like a group that we have, and it's pretty much around the clock, 24/7. There's traders from all around the world, so at any given time, somebody's on there, and crypto is a 24/7 market. So it's pretty much nonstop, just discussion about the markets. And I don't know, it's a awesome group of guys. Some of the sharpest traders that I've met. I've learned a ton being in there, and
Yeah, so I mean, there's some big names on Twitter that are in that group. Can you just drop a couple just so my audience can understand, who you're talking about here and who's in this group?
yeah, for sure. I mean, there's 20 of us in it right now, so I could literally just run down the list real fast if
Yeah,
that's cool.
yeah, if you're cool with just shouting
So,
everyone out.
yeah, I don't want to leave anybody out. So, Red XBT, Crypto Gains, Mac, Glimmery Coin, Coin Apocalypse, Tommy Zero, UB, Trader XO, Cuban Tobacco, Bit Dealer, Smart Out, Cred, Flacco, Simple Life, Voidbox, Stingray, Trade Cack himself, and King BTC are the boys.
There we go. Yeah, so I mean, maybe my audience hasn't heard of every one of these dudes, but they've heard at least, half of them. You guys are all killing it on Twitter. Every day you guys are posting just, free alpha every fucking day. It's funny.
Free alpha, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's your guys' motto. You got it tatted on the lips. But I want to do a little humble bragging myself. I don't know if it was just a joke, but Keck DM'd me yesterday saying he wanted to invite me into the group. And the offer was...
Keck's the gatekeeper, so you'll have to take it up with him.
Yeah, so I mean, he shot me a DM yesterday. He's like, hey, I want to invite you to the group. And I messaged him back just saying I'm a pretty mediocre trader and I don't see any value that I can add to it. And so that offer was quickly rescinded, but I was almost in. So
Ouch.
I'm just blown away by, some of the guys in there. You guys are all, I can't say it enough, you guys are killing it.
I mean, likewise, it's pretty fascinating. I mean, there's definitely guys in there swinging a way bigger size than me, and just seeing it live time, you can literally watch markets move, or just see markets literally just being influenced by some of the guys in there. So it's pretty interesting. It's pretty fun.
It's absolutely wild. It's kind of the behind the scenes in a sense. But okay, the main focus of this interview I really wanted to talk about was joining these trading groups. So can you talk I mean, your guys is a little more exclusive, but can you just talk to me about the importance and then also the drawbacks that you've seen being a part of PDF?
I mean, I'll address that one first. I honestly couldn't really name many drawbacks. I've had a completely positive experience in it, and also
who told you
I would
to say
say
that? Did Keck
I mean,
say that?
I was not put up to that legitimately, but I mean, if anything, like maybe I end up like on Discord more than I probably should, but I don't know. That would probably be the only thing. But
Okay.
the list of benefits is longer for sure. I can only speak to our group specifically because I think it's set up a little bit differently. It's not a paid group model by any means. I mean, there's like no one's getting paid. Nothing's being sold. There's no signal services. There's no alerts. It's literally just 20 guys in a chat, just discussing the markets and trying to share info with each other and help each other out. So from that perspective, it's been pretty incredible. I mean, some of the sharpest guys that I've ever met or talked to. So, I mean, it's just a great experience all around. I think if anyone wants to get involved in something like that, I don't think it's too terribly hard to try and set it up the same way. Like if you're on Twitter and you just see a bunch of people around you, like you're following people that you think have good content, or have an interesting perspective on things, I think like it's definitely doable to reach out and say like, hey, I'm interested in starting something up. Would you be interested in joining? So I think there's for sure benefits. I think there's a lot of like toxicity in the training community because it's in the end it's all just a competition. Like everyone wants to be better than everybody else, and everyone's pretty secretive with their alpha. I mean, if they think that they have a strategy that's gonna help them win in the markets, ultimately they have to take that money from someone else. So it's just natural to try and protect that. So if you can find a way to collaborate in a like a smaller scale, I think it's definitely helpful.
Completely agree. Yeah, like you were saying, you have your strategy. Everyone else in the group has their own specific strategy. So you guys are able to
Exactly.
kind of build and learn from each other. And I think a lot of traders, like you were saying, kind of want to just keep to themselves and keep their alpha to themselves. But I think, as you've seen, the benefits from learning from 19 other insanely good traders has far outweighed, what you've provided to the group. So there was
Yeah,
that.
exactly. And it's like, so my strategy itself is pretty systematic in that, like I have signals that are generated and portfolio weights. And so for the most part, I just take those and translate them into positions in the market. But if I come on and like everyone in the group is leaning against the position I'm about to put on, like that's obviously going to give me pause. There's a discretionary overlay I can put over it and say, hey, maybe I want to scale down this long a little bit, or maybe I should really push it. Or like if someone has key levels marked out or they're watching something, it's like, oh, I was going to put a stop here. Maybe I'll move it, or like a limit here. Maybe I'll move it to like a better spot because something they pointed out. So I think that's really valuable too. Just like small adjustments you make because you really can't monitor everything as one person, right? So just having 19 other sets of eyes on the markets, just watching other data streams, just other sources of information is always helpful. And then at the same time, I guess I'll add to that, like news. I mean, it's pretty impossible to watch everything that's going on at once and like what's relevant or not. So I know multiple times I've gotten alerts just through the group. Like when the original Bitfinex news came out, like everyone was just throwing alerts into the chat, like saying, "Hey, the news came out." And so, like, I'm pretty sure every single one of us got short immediately when the first Bitfinex New York Attorney General news came out. And literally, we just all sat there and watched the market do nothing for about 10 minutes before it just fell off a cliff. So that was pretty incredible, actually. And
You're
I mean, I'll say this too, just because I mean, there's literally nothing to sell. Like we're not gonna gain anything, but pretty much every major move that we've seen in the past year or so, like everyone in the group was on side for it, which is pretty incredible. Just like I don't think that would happen by chance.
No, 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 definitely not. I want my audience to be able to apply some of these things to maybe getting involved in their own group, but it's a little bit hard because you've got 19 other dudes that you trust, and that
Right.
are absolutely killing the game. So I guess I just want to, before we move on to anything else, want my audience to know like the most important thing is to find people who are tried and tested and that you also trust. Because if you've got 15 other dudes who don't really know what they're doing and who all have this ulterior motive, it's not going to be very beneficial. But there was one thing that
Right.
you touched on. You were talking about the fact that someone else in the group had maybe marked off some key levels, and you're like, okay, I might move my stop a little bit. Or if the majority of the group is leaning one way and you're potentially counter trading them, it like plays on your mind a bit. And I can see that as potentially being a downside to being in a group like this. I had Cold Blooded Chiller on maybe 3 or 4 episodes ago, and he talked about the fact that he really isolates himself before making a trade, because he can be influenced by other traders, and the charts that they're putting out, and their ideas on the market and where it's headed. So has that ever been a problem for you where you've had this trade set up that you wanted to take, and then at some point the group has influenced your decision to either not take the trade or to change it a bit?
I'm not sure because to me, naturally, I think I'm more of a contrarian. So like, it's almost the opposite. Like, I've almost had to condition myself to go along with some of the things that people in the group. Because I mean, even just being there for as long as I have been, it's just like my nature. If somebody is going long, like I just want to short. Just like I don't know. Like I just think like if anyone is thinking the market's going one way, then it just has to go the other way. So like if I see 19 people all just super bullish, like in my mind, that's just like a money short signal because it's almost like what I've been conditioned to on Twitter and wherever else. Like if 5,000 people on Twitter are all longing, like it's just like easy money going short there. But I don't know, the guys in the group, like I just trust. And if everyone's going one way, I've just seen them trade long enough, and I know their track records, and so it's like, there's just no way I'm counter trading them.
Okay, yeah. So, no downsides for you, just because they're such a trusted group of individuals, and you've actually had to condition yourself to stop counter trading them, which is pretty funny.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna like. I don't want to make it sound like that. I'm just like out there counter trading them, but like in my head, my first instinct is just to like go against what everyone else is doing.
Yeah, I mean, you see it in the general market and on Twitter, where a vast majority of Twitter is either bullish or bearish, and I would say my first instinct is, well, oh, this might be a little bit too obvious. Let's take a deeper look.
Right. And my thought on that too is like if a lot of people are bullish, it's in my opinion, it's a lot of people talking their book. So if you have a lot of people that are bullish on Twitter, you have a lot of people that are already long.
Yeah.
And so it's like who is buying after that? Like to make money, someone has to buy after you buy. If everyone's already long, like there's no one left.
Yeah. See, there's that ulterior motive that I was talking about. Whereas in your group, it kind of sounds like you guys are all trying to make money together. And you're not trying to fuck each other over in any kind of way.
Yeah, I mean, the market's big enough where, like, we're not going to steal profits from one another.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so you kind of gave us the rundown on what the group is, who's in it, pros and cons of it. Doesn't sound like there are many cons, so I'm going to continue to try to get in so I can just copy trade you guys. But, okay, so let's talk about, going forward. I always like to ask my guests this: what are you most excited for in the coming 12 months? Are you working on any new strategies? I know you've got your the blog, and then any big views on the market. Can you just talk to us about what you're excited for?
So I mean, for one, like always trying to develop new strategies, like always doing market research, always seeing like any new edges out there, like. Any strategy has alpha decay, so no matter what you've got, it's only going to work for so long before someone picks it up and eventually arbitrages it out of the market. So that's always an ongoing process. I do have the blog at quantfiction.com. I don't write there as much as I'd like, so a lot of the research I do, anything that I share, usually just post up on Twitter in like a shorter format. It kind of saves time, and it's kind of like easier to ingest for most people. I am trying to develop a new trading framework, and then I'm also contributing to a couple open source projects, as well as trying to get my master's in data science. So it pretty much keeps me busy.
Yeah, you got a lot going on. Obviously, with your strategies, there's always new strategies to develop, and it's kind of an ever-changing game. So that alone could keep you busy. And then you talked about, the blog versus what you just post on Twitter. And I see you posting some very informative stuff on Twitter. And it's short, sweet.
Yeah, I do my best.
Yeah, I feel like it's very digestible. So I don't think anyone's dying for a new blog post when you've posted so much stuff on Twitter. And then you brought up this new trading framework. Can you elaborate on that at all, or is that under wraps?
I mean... It's not under wraps. It's just like trying to trying to make a more robust version of what I have now, like trying to incorporate a few more exchanges. And then, I mean, I'm not a developer, a software developer by any means. So what I'm running with now in my mind is kind of like hacked together. So trying to work with a few guys who actually know what they're doing and try and fit it out, just because dealing with some of the APIs on these crypto exchanges isn't as straightforward as you'd like, and definitely not as robust as anyone who's ever traded on BitMEX knows.
100%. And then lastly, you talked about you're getting your master's in data science. So congrats on that. When's that going to be wrapped up?
Yeah, I think I have. I'd have to double check, but I think I have one semester after this, maybe two.
There we go.
I really should be more on top of that, but yeah, coming up soon.
You got other shit to focus on. But okay, perfect. So that kind of gives us what you're working on, what you're doing in the future, and what we can kind of expect from you. So I appreciate that. Now, one last thing I did want to ask, and this is where, get as big brained as possible. Talk over my head. This will be for, anyone who's listening that, wants to become a quant, prospective quants, people who are doing it already. What's your biggest tip for them? I was just in Architects Discord before this, and Jeff W was like, if you got any questions, I got questions for you if you wanna post them up, or if you need any help with asking any questions to Quant. So talk to these kind of guys. Go over my head, and
You got it. I mean, do you have them? I'd be
No. So he didn't.
glad to entertain him.
He didn't.
Oh, you were asking him.
Well, yeah. So I was like, do you have any questions? And then he was
Gotcha.
also asking me, if you want help formulating any questions, because really this stuff is very far over my head, so I couldn't even start to develop any like in-depth questions on the topic. So
Sure.
if you want to just go off, give some tips, talk about whatever you want to talk about here.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, I think just being on crypto Twitter or trading Twitter more broadly, like I think my style is pretty different from almost everyone I see, so that makes it kind of hard to relate. So if anyone wanted to follow more of a quantitative or systematic trading style, I guess at a lower level, like the most basic thing you could do would probably be just to snag some Bitcoin or any market you're interested, really. Just some price data off the internet. For crypto markets, especially, like the data is all out there. Like all the exchanges pretty much just give it away for free, which is an incredible opportunity in crypto specifically. If anyone's ever looked in traditional markets, I know I just pulled up like traditional futures, and I think for the full trading history for tick data is like $38,000 just to buy the historical data. And that's what like pretty much everyone in crypto gives away for free. So that's incredible. But just you can just snag like a CSV of the open, high, low, close data, throw it in Excel, and then just start playing around. Like I know Bit Dealer, who people have probably heard of, is a awesome trader and like just very quick to learn things. Has been doing this. Like you can just run stats, like see when the highs and the lows of the week occur, like what happens when price is above its 200-day moving average, when it's below its 200-day moving average, what happens after an up day, after a down day, like after an outside day, after an inside day. Like these are pretty easy things that you could come up with to throw just in an Excel formula and just get a basic idea of like how the market moves. And so that would be the most basic. I think the number one tip that I would have is learn to code. Hashtag learn to code. But like seriously, I think Python's pretty much the most used language in quant finance or like quantitative research for trading. There's a ton of open source packages available to make it easy to do pretty much everything. Like you don't have to know a ton of code to get into it. There's just packages that people have just written. People probably a lot smarter than me. So you could just get going that way. And then there's a few books that you could get into if you're really interested in it. I think the ones that were definitely most helpful to me were David Aronson's Evidence-Based Technical Analysis. It's basically just a look at a lot of the subjective technical analysis that people do and just kind of points out some of the flaws and how things could be improved. Robert Carver's Systematic Trading, which kind of just lays out a whole framework for like a more systematic approach. And there's actually levels in that book for discretionary traders, what he calls semi-automatic traders, and then fully automated traders. So that's really good. And then if you want to learn Python or coding for trading specifically, I always recommend Python for Data Analysis by Wes McKinney. And basically he's the founder of Pandas, which is a very popular Python library for data analysis. And so he just goes through pretty much his entire suite of data analysis techniques. And I've referred to probably all three of those books over and over again.
Perfect, man. I really appreciate it. I was actually going to ask if you've got any books. So you gave a couple tips there, and I really appreciate that. You started off by saying, you can just go get Bitcoin price data pretty much for free from most of these exchanges, which is unheard of in traditional markets. And then just start playing around with it. You talked about just looking at the highs and the lows, what price is doing when it's over a specific moving average, really just getting into the data, getting your hands dirty, and a little bit of trial and effort in a sense, or that's what it seemed like. I could be wrong there, but it was that kind of the gist?
I'm sorry, I might have cut out there. Say low effort. What was the
No, I was saying that, you got to get in there, get your hands dirty, and then just through trial and error.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. There we go. Perfect. Yeah, so, just like, get in there, test out some different strategies, really just play with the data. And then you talked about, the hashtag learn to code.
Absolutely.
Fucking got people banned on Twitter, which blows my mind. And you talked about Python being probably the most widely used language. And then you threw down 3 books, and I really appreciate you doing this because I've, asked a few of my previous guests, you got any books? And occasionally they're like, not really off the top of my head, but you had the 3.
Oh, man. I could go all day on trading books.
Yeah, if you want to shoot me a DM after this, I can add any book to the description. But the 3 that you did talk about were Evidence-Based Technical Analysis, Systematic Trading, and then Python for Data Analysis. So I really appreciate that. And then, for my audience, I would really appreciate, if you've got other books, I can throw them in the description so that...
Yeah, for sure.
Just in case anyone who's listening has already read all 3 or gone through all 3, they've got some more stuff to check out.
Yeah, and then anyone who's already, quant or systematic based, like the one that's super hot right now, Advances in Financial Machine Learning by Marcus Lopez de Prado is just like pretty much the Bible of quant finance right now. He's just a legend in the industry and pretty much just laid out all of his best stuff in one book. So definitely pick that up if you've got a solid base in mathematics and statistics and some Python skills already.
Perfect, man. I really appreciate it. I hate that we can't get real in-depth on this kind of stuff just because my knowledge is lacking. And I feel like we're going to disappoint... You're not going to disappoint anybody. I feel like a few people who listen to this are going to be disappointed in the questions that I asked. But I got a bunch of dumb people following me, so this one's for them.
Oh, don't say that.
No, it's only jokes. It's only jokes. But okay, I really appreciate it again. Is there anything else that you wanted to talk about or bring up that you think we may have missed?
I don't think so. My Twitter handles at Quant Fiction, website's quantfiction.com, and if anyone's interested in getting involved in quant trading or or wants to talk about it can just hit me up on Twitter. Just send me a DM. And I also run a Discord group for quantitative traders in both crypto and traditional markets. And that's just kind of similar, just a place to chat, share research, share anything interesting that we find.
Dude, good looks, my man. I really appreciate it when my guests are, willing to help and say that their DMs are open. So I appreciate that. I'll have a link to your Twitter, your Discord, your blog, and then if there's anything else that you want me to add to the description, I will. I'll get those books in there. And then if anything comes up, you can always DM me and, I'll get it added. All right, guys, that wraps up another episode of the Crypto Entrepreneurs Podcast. I just want to say thank you for tuning in. I really appreciate it. The show's for you guys. I make it for you guys. And it wouldn't happen without you guys. So I really do want to thank you for that. And, if you found anything in this episode helpful or any of the previous episodes that I've put out, can you just do me a huge favor and leave us a review? It would really help us out. And then on top of that, could you also share it with any friends, family, anyone on social media? If there's something that spoke to you in any of these episodes, I would really appreciate it if you could do that for us. So thanks again for listening, and hope to see you next episode.